wearing your shades for more reasons than one this evening. Not only do your Seahawks absolutely dominate in prime time this past weekend, but they said, you know what? It just wasn't good enough. 38-14 over the Commanders. Sam Darnold, 21-24, 334 TDs. JSN, you're playing like one of the best receivers in the league. Why don't we go out and add a little bit more to this offense? That's what the Seattle Seahawks did before the trade deadline. The Seattle Seahawks, they make a deal with the New Orleans Saints to acquire wide receiver Rasheed Shahed. Seattle sends a 2026 fourth rounder and a fifth rounder to New Orleans to bring in the wideout. And as you can see in the bottom right of your screen, Jesse, not loving it. Brandon, you're loving it. Talk to me about the move made this afternoon.
Jesse's a smart man from time to time, and he's right on this one. That's because the Seattle Seahawks are getting hot. It's coming together. They're getting better bit by bit as they win 6 of their last 7 games, a 10-game road winning streak. Sam Darnold setting records across the board. And then, you put this trade on top. What does this do for you? Quite a lot. I've talked about it. It is even maintained in this Washington game after this last week. A team that's not built to really stack boxes, a team that's not really built to try to put that much down the line. They did so again this past week. And what did Sam do to him? Stabbed him in the heart with a dagger over and over again. 47 knife wounds by the time that thing was over with. And what now do you have with this guy? An ability to get deep back over the top. Take the top of the defense off. Make you have to force those double teams his way. You want to start trying to double JSN? Oh, now you're going to single up Shaheed. Oh, you want to bring all those guys down around the line of scrimmage? Oh, good luck. Now we get one-on-ones with Shaheed on the outside. And oh, by the way, he's played in this offense before. He's got ultimate familiarity. So you can't even just say, well, he's going to be learning the ropes. He's not going to know the terminology. No, he had the best start to his career in the first 6 games of the year last year before he went down to injury in the Clint Kubiak system. And Kubiak had him at his highest depth of target in his entire career. And this guy was already known for being a burner, a guy to take the top off the defense. He does it with him even better.
So you're looking at the compensation. That feels like a pretty decent package in terms of what Seattle gave up. When you saw initially what they were willing to give up for Shaheed, what was your initial reaction, and did you feel pretty comfortable with it?
Well, I would be interested as much to hear some of what the boys are going to say on this as far as their perspective with this deadline, because I was not the only team in this division that was maybe looking to make some moves. My take on it is that when you look at the few moves that were made, you look at some of the high prices paid out, that this was a seller's market, not a buyer's market. That part of that pool that was so small that you had to pick from meant that if you were going to make a move, you were going to have to come from that top rope and come down hard with it. And I would estimate that even within its own division, the Rams might have been in with the Seahawks on this one of trying to compete and might have taken this offer to push it over the top. The other part of this to consider is the fact the Seahawks have built a pretty stacked up team at this point that's got a lot of young players that are going to be here for years to come. Not a lot of pending free agents that you're worrying about the loss that you got to fill up the draft with. And then as well, every pundit that I've heard talk about this upcoming draft, the analysts, guys look at it from the outside in, sometimes just college guys looking at it, all to a man, say that this is not a particularly strong draft. And in fact, it's one of the weaker drafts that they've seen in recent years. Combined with that, the fact that we're going to be picking at the end of the round, you kind of gave up an early 5th round pick and an early 6th round pick from my perspective.
Let's spread it around the table. What an absolutely wild trade deadline it was. Tons of moves in comparison to years past. Right before the deadline, you had 3 receivers be moved. You had the New York Jets in real time announce to the world, yep, we're tanking, we're selling our entire team. We just got rid of the faces of our franchise. You acquire numerous first-round picks in the New York Jets. They trade Sauce Gardner out of absolutely nowhere. The Colts go from being a team that can't find a quarterback to all of a sudden having the offensive player of the year, having a quarterback, and putting all their chips in the middle of the table, giving up a young receiver and 2 first-round picks. Also, you have Jerry Jones and the Cowboys saying, oh, we traded Micah Parsons before the season. We're 3-5-1. Let's go acquire Quinnen Williams. So a wild afternoon. Let's spin it around. Jake, starting with you. What did you make of the trade deadline this afternoon?
Yeah, I thought it was awesome for Seattle. I thought that was a genius move. It's funny, they were talking about it on the broadcast, how yeah, you could pretty much just the reason why Seattle's destroying teams is because they can't stop the run, and now teams are having to play bump and run. Well, I think what this is going to really do, bring in Shaheed, is it's going to force you now. You have to kind of play cover too, and you're forced to because of that speed, but also JSN speed. And you turn around and of course you have some other guys as well. I mean, Torrey Horton is somebody that you guys know. I loved him in the draft, and we finally saw him get a chance. So This is a really smart move from a team that I believe is the second best team in football. I think Seattle is an absolute blast to watch. I think they play the game the right way. They have a physical defense. They take the football away, and then they're able to pound the rock, and they also have a really exciting, high-octane passing attack and a special teams unit that's the best in the league. So, with that said, absolutely love that they made this from a football fan. Obviously, if you're a Rams fan, you're not feeling great about this, but at the same time, it is what it is. I want to say this, though. I feel like way too many people are giving Howie Roseman way too much credit, because I will say this right now. Just because you made 4 trades doesn't mean you're better than everybody else. Doesn't mean they were really aggressive. Yeah, they were aggressive because the team wasn't built to win the Super Bowl yet. That's what they're telling us. The Seattle Seahawks knew they didn't need to make a ton of moves. They made 1, and this could put them over the top. So I understand not every team operates in that way, but I do think we have to stop looking at who makes bulk moves and just think like, oh yeah, this team, they're just so great. And, look at that GM, like going out and doing that. To me, the way I see it is that the Eagles had actual needs. And that to me is I would say it's a flawed roster. I don't think they were going to win the Super Bowl without making those moves. So you weren't ready. You didn't have the offseason. And why did they do that? There's a strategy to it. But what if it didn't work out? The strategy that Howie Roseman has, it's not hard to see. Howie Roseman wants to let all of these guys go, get all of the compensatory picks, and then he's just going to get guys at the deadline and cash in on those compensatory picks. So it's just a nonstop thing, and that sounds great. But now you need, teams to trade to you, and you're not always going to get this opportunity. So what I'm saying is, you look at Seattle, and they got a lot of, people were laughing at them. I thought Seattle did a great job this offseason and the way they put their roster together. And I don't think that's talked about nearly enough. They were laughed at for getting rid of Geno Smith. I didn't understand it. They were laughed at for getting rid of DK Metcalf. And now they look better than both of those teams that they traded them to by a country mile.
Brandon, I'm glad I got my money down whenever I was asked in the chat, who you think's winning the West. I didn't know Shaheed was coming. I didn't know they were going to lay the hammer down on Sunday night. So my Seattle Seahawks looking pretty damn good right now in the middle of this NFC. Jesse, I saw your reaction earlier. This is one of those ones. And I know this is what I love about this division. You can tell a move was good when you see a reaction like that of Jesse's. So talk to me about the deadline and, of course, the Seahawks move for Shaheed here.
I mean, as soon as I saw it, I just spelled out a big F-bomb on Twitter. That's all I could do. Last week we talked about trades, and we were talking specifically about the Rams getting a wide receiver. And we talked about some big name wide receivers. And what did I say? The wide receiver that would scare me the most if he ended up with the Rams was Rasheed Shahed, because he's so different than all the other receivers we're talking about. The Rams already had their possession guys. They just needed somebody who can take the top off, and that's exactly what Rasheed Shahed does. Now he goes to the Seahawks, and it was the same exact thing. JSN is their big play guy, but he can work any part of the field. You've got Horton, who was a hell of a draft pick. They stole him in that draft as is. Cooper Kupp's whatever. I mean, it's not a big deal, but Rasheed Shahed added to that, going back with his old offensive coordinator. And, listen, I don't think Sam Darnold is the greatest quarterback in the world. There's no working around that. But what I will say is he absolutely has an arm to go get the ball to Rasheed Shahed, and he has some pretty good deep ball accuracy. So this move absolutely is a needle mover for the Seattle Seahawks. Their defense has already been on point. We'll see what's going on with Jones when he's back, but overall, the Seattle Seahawks absolutely won this trade. Huge for them. I am curious, though. Very similar to what the Jaguars gave up in a 4th and a 6 to go get Jacoby Myers. I think Rasheed Shahed definitely fits the Seahawks a lot better than Myers would have. But both of these guys' contracts are up at the end of the year. So if Rasheed Shahed is not re-signed, is it worth it to have given up that much draft capital? A lot of times what you see is the pick swap, later round pick swap, what have you. I would like to get Brandon's opinion. Do you think that they're going to re-sign Shahed? And if they don't, was it worth it for a half a year rental in your opinion?
In the early reporters from Seahawks are reporting out that there's going to be an intention to move him in long term and try to extend him long term.
Okay.
Obviously, you're going to have to find a creative contract within it because he's not going to be a $20 million a year kind of guy. It's easy enough to do this when you consider the fact the Seattle Seahawks are sitting on so much cap space this offseason. Yes, a JSN needs to be re-signed. Yes, Charles Cross needs to re-signed. But you're sitting on, I think, like top 5 amount of cap space for next year. And you can move off of Kupp and save about 9.5 additional million. So you could essentially move Kupp's contract over to Shaheed after this year, and you'll be just perfectly fine doing so on that side of it. But I mean, look at what happened with the Rams a couple of years ago when they went at that Von Miller trade. That was an older Von Miller, a guy that had torn his ACL. He wasn't prime Von Miller. They gave up his 2nd and 3rd round pick for just the back end of the schedule for him and said, this kind of move can take us over the top. I'm not saying he's going to have as measurable an impact as Miller did to that defense, but I am saying that this is a little bit of a cost of doing business type of situation. And you can attest to this. I've been consistent with you in these conversations with the Niners in recent years, saying this is the type of stuff you should do. When you guys made that McCaffrey trade, we talked about it and I said, yeah, Jesse, that's exactly what you should be doing in these situations. Know where you're at and be aggressive when the timing is right.
Yeah, and Jake alluded to this a minute ago in talking about the Eagles. You can't underestimate these moves with the way the NFC is stacking up right now. I mean, you currently have 5 teams with 2 losses, and that's not including San Francisco, who hasn't had their bye with 6 wins. So it's just loaded. Any little move could ultimately end up being the biggest difference. Mike, I'll go up to you here. What do you make of what you saw during the trade deadline and watching Brandon Seahawks add another weapon for Sam Darnold?
Yeah, man. Damn Seattle Seahawks, man. Definitely beat everybody out here from the freaking NFC West. I was expecting a little bit more action from the NFC West, not from my boys. I mean, of course, I had a hopeful thought that we were going to do something, but now we kind of stay pat. So no big deal, but overall, it was a really good move, man. Rasheed Shaheed's a really good playmaker. Unfortunately, he ended up kind of his career with the Saints, and we all know the state of the Saints right now. So ended up moving on to the Seattle Seahawks, a great playmaker to line him up next to JSN. And let's be real, Cooper Kupp is a signing that had a name to it, but I don't know, guys, the injuries are starting to kind of pile up. And I think right now with Rasheed Shahed, it's the perfect complement over to JSN and Torrey Horton, which I was a pretty big fan of in the draft as well. Unfortunately, the Cardinals couldn't go any wide receiver in the draft, but yeah, man, very good weapon. Sam Darnold's got these guys got a choice to pick in the passing game. So definitely really good weapon for them. Sucks for the NFC West, but overall good for them.
Well, real quick. I want to make a plea because we were talking about trade deadline altogether. The New York Jets have a lot of picks. All right. And it sounds like they're going to be trading for a quarterback, maybe not even in the draft. I know that Kyler Murray is going to be available, but why would you take a guy who's been in the league as long as he had? He's a short player. He obviously can't see over the middle. Brock Purdy is the guy that you want. I'm telling you. You can have him for 2 second-round picks. We don't even want any of your first-round picks. You can have him. He's a franchise guy. All the 49er fans will tell you he's a franchise guy. He's locked up long-term. I hear he plays great in inclement weather, so if you want your guy, Brock Purdy's out here. I'm just saying this offseason, come get him, Jets.
Hold on, Jesse, let me do the New York Jets. I'm the Jets GM. Well, I'm hearing what you're saying on that, but they're just saying a third for the little guy.
Listen, the little guy's like 30 years old at this point. He just runs around. It's just Brock Purdy's young. He's a franchise guy, 2 second-round picks, and you still keep all your first rounders. This is a no-brainer.
Rounders, you just raise the price on me.
The Jets need to go after an actual quarterback.
Well, it's funny you're bringing this up because if you Google LA Rams trade deadline, one of the first things that pops up is a Reddit thread saying that the Jets have set themselves up perfectly for the Matthew Stafford succession plan. That is what I saw earlier today. Yes.
Wow.
Here we go.
So we are right on the money here in terms of talking about this. But by the way, how about the state of the AFC East? How about it? Let's give a round of a shout out to Richie. At least he's getting some picks. Also, while you're down there, you got to check out our friends over at Sleeper. And I've already built a slip for us for what could be the game of the year, fellas. Thursday night football, Broncos, Raiders. I know we all can't wait for that one. And if you're like me, you're damn right. And if you're like me, you're thinking to yourself, I gotta get up and find a way to watch this. I need a reason to watch this. I got a reason for you. A sleeper slip. Here's mine. I got Brock Bowers getting in the end zone. Bo Nix with the free pick, more than a half yard. And then Geno Smith, sorry, Brandon, less than 212.5 yards in this one. That's good for a 7x multiplier. If you want to tell that one or create your own, link in the description below. Click that and sign up for a Sleeper account. Once you do, you will immediately get a free $20 entry to try out Sleeper completely free. You can use it on Thursday Night Football, Week 10 upcoming up here, or the NBA, NHL, you name it, it's all there. Once you use that free $20 entry, use the promo code RTS. And that'll get you a 100% match up to $100 on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper terms of use for details. Currently available in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper in the link in the description below today.